Great decorating is all about the details, including a gorgeous textured set of coasters. How we love a coaster. Functional. And why not be beautiful? Quince has a gorgeous set of woven rattan coasters in 3 terrific colors with their own little holder that you're going to absolutely love. And if you haven't visited quince.com/DTT yet, get on over there. It's everyday elevated living without the markup. From crisp 100% linen bedding and soft organic cotton towels to airy curtains and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And the best part? Like Quince's clothing, their home goods are half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. Summertime is in full swing, and now it's your chance to catch up on DTT episodes from the archives. Anita and I are taking a little break to enjoy family, friends, and travel, and we hope you're doing the same, and that you'll take us with you on your trip to the beach, in the garden, or just chilling with a cool drink. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and we'll be back soon. And until then, remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Let's get started with today's episode.
Make it your own. Hi, this is Anita Joyce here with Kelly Welkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today's episode is clever ways to add character to your home.
So many homes, freestanding homes, townhomes, apartments, they don't really come with any character baked in. They might be using very basic materials. The interior and exterior might not really have a definite personality. And a lot of the rooms can just be white cubes. And there's nothing wrong with living in or purchasing a house like that at all. In fact, it could be a blank slate. And we're going to tell you so many things that you can do today to make that type of home your own. Or if you already have a home that's got a great style and some character to it, of course, take these tips and add on.
Well, right. And sometimes it's a blessing that it's a blank slate, because I'd rather add something new that I like rather than take out something old that I don't like. So I'd rather have no wallpaper than something awful that I have to remove and then put in something nice. So it's kind of nice starting with a new house that doesn't have much detail.
What I would suggest is you want to respect the style of the home. So if the home that you're living in or you're going to purchase does have a specific style, then you're going to want to stay within that vernacular, particularly on the exterior. A lot of the homes that we're talking about that fall into this range that really need some character added to them are pretty basic. So you can maybe imagine your basic ranch or a house that is really not easily identifiable. And then within reason, you can make it reflect a certain style. Maybe you have a very basic ranch, you could go sort of craftsman-y, or you could do modern farmhouse, or you could do something really contemporary. I would say stay away from Victorian or true farmhouse or something Georgian. You know, if you've got a basic house that doesn't already have some of the characteristics of those very definable styles, you're probably not going to want to be adding gingerbread and a porch to a ranch house. But you can do so much with a house that is just very simple, kind of undefinable style. So let's start with the exterior. You can really upgrade the whole look of your home with a different front door. So picture a very simple ranch home. And as a caveat, these simpler homes, oftentimes you're going to be able to get them at a better price point because other people don't have vision. So
That's
if
true.
you listen to this podcast, you probably have your own vision, right? And then you're learning things as we go along with our decorating tips and tricks. So you'll be able to maybe get a house that other people would pass by because it kind of looks like the plain Jane. I digress. Let's get back to the front door. So if you had a very simple ranch house and you decided, oh, I'd like to kind of go in a little bit of the craftsman look, you could get a gorgeous door like Anita has, a gorgeous Craftsman door. Okay, the door is now making a statement. Then maybe you want to add some plantings even that are going to reflect that. Maybe a mailbox that would also carry through that theme. Maybe you decide to paint the exterior of the house in some of the Craftsman colors. So something that's inspired by nature, maybe a green or a brown or something like that. So you can transform the exterior of one of these houses that you might drive right by thinking, little plain Jane house, not much going on. But wow, if you just take the time to think about it and see what is there to be transformed.
Yeah, and I've seen that a lot in some areas in Houston where it's a ranch style house. There's a lot of them here, and they've made some upgrades to the front of the house and then gutted the inside a lot of times, and it just looks completely different on the inside. So the first thing I was going to mention is panel walls. Those really can upgrade an interior room. You could go with, and the old thing was the picture frame paneling. But that seems a little dated to me, so I think something a little fresher would be more of a board and batten or box molding. I think they're casual, but they're elegant, and they're just going to add some beautiful detail, and it's just not going to look cookie cutter anymore.
But that is a fantastic idea. I would look first to the floor. You might be able to transform the place completely by just changing the flooring. Sometimes when you go into these homes, particularly if it's an older home, they might have cleared it out. They might have painted everything white and freshened it up, but maybe they didn't change the flooring and maybe it's different in all the rooms. So my preference is, with the exception of the bathrooms, is to have the same flooring run throughout. So if that's something that you can do, it's within the budget, I would definitely consider doing that because that will make such a big impact in the home.
I 100% agree with you, and I love the idea of just the same floor with the exception of your bathrooms and laundry room. I think it's very easy to do the same flooring throughout, and I've talked to clients before about those kind of suburban houses upstairs that have carpet that never had hardwoods underneath, but if you rip it out and you have a good craftsperson, they can transform that subflooring into a really nice wood floor upstairs.
Ooh, and how would they use the subflooring itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they kind of patch in the empty spaces and, sand it down and finish it. You stain it and everything. I've seen it done, and it was amazing.
Wow, that is such a great thing to know about, because that is a big expense. You're tearing something out, then getting rid of that, then buying a new floor, and then having that installed. If they could do something with that subflooring, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, now, if you get someone old school, they're going to say, you can't do that, but, someone creative definitely can do it, and I've seen it done.
Well, don't work with anybody that says you can't do that, because you got to find the guy that goes, ooh, that would be fun. Or the woman that says, ooh, that would be fun. Exactly. Now, a lot of times in these homes that we're talking about, whether you want to call them cookie cutter or, basic or what have you, just simple, maybe is the word. A lot of times the ceilings are lower. And there are no obvious focal points in the interior. They might not even be a fireplace. There just might not be anything special. But we all know that is not hard to add. So you can do a lot with the ceiling to make it more interesting. Think about it as the fifth wall. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not high, but you can also do some things with paint and kind of, trick the eye. But you could do some sort of planking on the ceiling like I've done. You can add a ceiling medallion. It's simple as that. Just something to sort of bring your eye up. Of course, you could paint it a different color. You could even paper the ceiling to make it interesting.
Yes, and Edith and Evelyn, that blog, I'm going to link to that because she covered a popcorn ceiling with planking, and it's just amazing. You're going to love that. I will find that for you and link to it, and you're going to love it. It's a fabulous solution. So, there's so much you can do with woodwork. I think putting some beadboard on the walls is also a nice thing if you have kind of a cottagey feel to your house. You can do that with the wainscoting beadboard. We also used beadboard in the ceiling of our front and back porch. We actually used reclaim. So it's actually painted different shades of blue and green, and we just kind of kind of mixed up all the boards, so it's kind of a mélange. It's just kind of mixed
Oh,
up.
I love that.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think I
fun.
looked up when I was there. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that.
Yeah. So I mean, so you can put beadboard on the ceiling. You can put it on the wall. You can put it anywhere, but it definitely does give a cottage feel. If that's not going to work with your house or that's too much work, you can just add a chair rail and then paint the lower part of the wall a little different color, white or something. And I think that's a great look.
I do too. And molding does so much to make a home feel like it has more character and just sort of gives it that oomph that it needs. But that being said, don't get carried away. If you've got 8-foot ceilings, you don't want to put a giant crown molding
True.
up there that should look like it's in some home with 11 or 10-foot ceilings. So you have to work with the scale. But that being said, it doesn't mean that you couldn't do some interesting molding. Maybe it's just not as wide or as thick. So think about what works. Get some samples. I know at Home Depot, I've done this many a time. You can go right to the aisle and you can saw yourself a little section and take it home and test it. And you might do a nice combination. Maybe you even just do something really simple like a quarter round, but maybe then you add a little extra profile to it. Just something that you're not going to see everywhere. It's just not going to be that basic little flat piece of molding that's going around. And the same idea with the window trim. You can certainly trim out your windows a little bit more elaborately than maybe they are. But if you don't want to put your money into that and you're going to put up draperies or curtains, well, just make sure that they're covering that and you don't even see the basic molding that's there.
Well, that's an excellent point. If you don't have trim around the windows and that's something you can afford, that really does make a big difference. I highly recommend you do that. But if it's not in your budget, then you can put curtains that are framing your window basically on the left and right side, and then you're not going to notice that there is no nice trim around there. And I think just as important as that trim around the windows is the baseboard. And I think that's something that really gives it away when you're in a cookie cutter kind of a spec house versus a custom house, is that suburban little, I don't know, what is it, 3-inch, 4-inch baseboard, that they used a lot in the 70s, 80s, right. 90s. So like if you did a straight, and it's kind of angled. So if you did that straight piece of like an 8-inch, I mean, it's so beautiful. You will notice it. So I just measured my baseboards. I think they're 8 inches, and I think that's a great size. But and if you have taller ceilings, you can go a little taller than that. But for 8-foot ceilings, I would not go any bigger than 8 inches.
And you're saying you would add that extra bit onto what's already there, right? So
no. I think you're going to have to take the
You would have to take that off. Okay.
Oh yeah, you're going to have to take it off.
Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. I can't stop using dupe.com. This is an amazing website, service, best friend. I absolutely love it. So you find something that you really want and it's too expensive, it's a budget buster. Then you use dupe.com and you can find almost the exact thing or very similar products for much less. So I was crushing on this incredibly gorgeous coffee table. I had it in my mind. I had it in my Pinterest boards. I had it everywhere, but I just didn't have it in my house because it was too expensive. When I learned about dupe.com, that was the first product that I tested. And boy, did I find some amazing dupes. And I purchased one. So the original was almost $3,000. And Dupe showed me many choices, all the way down to under $200. Now, you may think something this extraordinary is hard to use, but it's so easy. Just type dupe.com/ before any product URL in your browser, and boom, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account required, no sign up required. It's completely free. That's completely free free to use. Stop wasting your money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today.
Another thing that I think makes a big difference are hanging doors. It's really popular now, but I think this is going to be around for a while. Now, we've seen a lot with, I'm going to use air quotes here, barn doors. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of barn looking. But that hanging hardware with any kind of door is becoming very popular. And it doesn't have to be kind of a barn type door. I've seen it with French doors and I've seen it with antique doors. And I'm seeing it in very high end homes. I have some doors that I got at a French auction. We would call them French doors, but in France, they don't know what a French door, is. You know how if it has the panels of glass in them, we go, oh, it's a French door. But they're like, what? It's a door with windows in it.
Right.
But anyway, these were from France, and they're
so they were French doors.
French doors. That's right.
Okay.
And then and the paint's kind of peeling off and everything. Anyway, so I had them treated so they're not going to continue to chip off. But I have those hung over my study, and it just has a really nice look. And when you're in the study, you can't even tell they're hanging doors, but it's just a nice extra detail, just kind of a fun thing to do. And this would be something that would be so easy to add later to your house.
Mm-hmm.
So you just need to get the hanging hardware and the doors.
Yes, and the hanging hardware, it comes in so many different finishes, just like regular hardware, and so many different looks. So I think you're absolutely right when you say, oh, it's a barn door. People may think that look really just works with the farmhouse or modern farmhouse or what have you, but that is not true. The door on the track makes so much sense in so many applications. Sometimes you just don't want a door opening up. Sometimes you don't have the room for that, or it'll take up too much space. So being able to glide along the track is a wonderful solution. I have some very old doors that we found in the barn here when we were renovating, and I wanted to use them somehow. I didn't want to keep them in the house because they're really chippy and old. And so I said, let me use them out in the barn. So one is for the bathroom out there and one is for my laundry room, and it's on the tracks.
Nice.
That worked out beautifully. And also you can create, so if you have an old door that's an antique or something that you want to reuse, you can create the opening to suit the door because it's on the tracks, right? And so it doesn't have to fit perfectly, unless you obviously need to have some privacy or no light peeking in. But, they can kind of like sit right over them. And I'm working with some clients right now, and they're very mid-century modern. And at first the husband was the same thing that Anita was alluding to, was like, I don't like those barn doors. But the wife and I kept saying, no, this is a great solution. And I found some wonderful brushed nickel hardware that looked really cool and very fresh and modern for them to use, because they have a very narrow hallway, and we wanted to do a linen closet, pantry area. No way could you have opened a door there. So that was a great solution.
Oh, I think you're right. I mean, we've got the house that we rent out, our vacation rental, and there's a couple of places where they put in doors where there's one door knocking into another door.
Right.
And I'm thinking, why did they do this? Although pocket doors, you have to have the interior space for them to disappear into the wall. But that's the beauty of these barn doors. You just need room for them to slide exteriorly on the exterior of the wall. So these are just so much easier to add later on than a pocket door. You don't have to worry about what's between the walls.
I had on my list to upgrade the interior doors. So in addition to being able to do these barn doors or doors on tracks, you could decide to upgrade the interior doors. Sometimes on a home, especially if it's in the lower price point, you're going to have hollow doors. Sometimes it's even higher price spec homes. That's just what the contractor or the builder did, was just put in, I need a door, and they just do a hollow core door. It makes a big difference to have a solid wood door. And even if you can't afford a solid wood door, if it's a flat panel, and flat panel doesn't really go with your whole vibe, you can add molding to the doors. You could just do a big long rectangle, or you could do two different rectangles, a rectangle and square. You can imagine there's so many different possibilities. And then, of course, changing out the hardware.
Right. And paint the door a different color.
Yeah.
I mean, I painted my doors gray, a much darker gray than the wall color a long time ago, and it seems like that's a common thing now, that where we've gone in houses, and it seemed like a lot of places have dark gray doors. So that's something that you can do.
They've been watching you.
Well, what can I say? I'm sure other people have done that too. I love plates and dishes, so of course I need lots of storage for plates, but plate racks are a great thing to add to your house. And even if you don't collect them as much as I do, it's just a nice way to add some interest. So if if you have a breakfast room, for example, and you don't really have room to put a buffet there or some sort of storage for dishes or a cabinet or anything, put those plate racks on the wall. They don't stick out very far, and it's a great place to store them.
Yeah, and I would say go big on something like that. Maybe get 2. Make it a real big statement rather than just like 4 little plates.
Yes,
do
exactly.
16 plates or something like that. And even if you don't have 16 that you'd want to display, get the racks. You can put them up as you collect or as you find things that you'd like to put out there. But I would make it a really big statement rather than just some little dinky thing.
Well, I agree with that. And that's kind of what I had in mind is rather than buying a plate rack, usually they're too small because I'm really talking about something that's 4 to 5 feet wide. I think is really going to make the biggest kind of statement. Now, I have one that's about 2 feet wide, but it's like floor to ceiling in my breakfast room on either sides of the window. So I've got quite a few platters on both sides.
I love that. I just want to jump back to those painted doors because I did that in my hallway upstairs. I was thinking about for the longest time. And then the day we were doing, I was really nervous. And the painter was like, it's going to look really good. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, good. Thank you. I needed that little extra.
What color did you paint them?
Black.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Painting the doors black was a great idea, it turns out. It really looks sharp.
Oh, I'm sure it is stunning. That sounds so beautiful. But whatever color you do, I think just paint them something different from the wall color, and I think you're going to love it. Whether it's black, gray, maybe it's blue, maybe green, whatever. But I think that's a great thing to do. It's going to add so much interest, and that's really something easy for the homeowner to do themselves. Another thing I think that we don't really think about, but this could add a very dramatic change to your shower or your bathtub, is to put one of those large rain shower heads in there. If you have one of those small ones, change that out and it's going to look high end just immediately. And I know you do have to hire probably a plumber to do it, but I don't think it would be that horribly expensive to do.
How about some floor to ceiling bookcases? In a home like this where each room is very similar, it's kind of a white or whatever color it's painted, square or maybe a little bit of a rectangle. Why not just go wall to wall or in between 2 windows and go floor to ceiling and put in a fabulous bookcase? Wouldn't be too hard to make if you have the inclination to do that yourself. Probably not too expensive if you had a carpenter come in, or get those Billy bookcases, or there's a lot of places online that offer unfinished furniture. And I know that there are bookcases on those sites that are not that expensive. And then you could paint it a pop color, do something really fun with it.
I love, love, love that idea. You can use it for display or for books. So I think that's a fabulous idea. Something else I think people don't think about is wall sconces. And you can get them wired in or just hang them. Some of them have a cord on that you can plug in, and those, anybody can do. You don't have to hire an electrician. But that's such a nice way to add another source of light. And I just think a lot of them are really beautiful.
I have a lot of those in my house. They're great. So many different companies make them. I know Lamps Plus because I have 2 sets of these now. I have the oil rub bronze and I also have the gold. Lamps Plus has a pair. Really good looking, all metal. They extend from the wall a little bit. They're the non-hardwired, so they're the plug-in kind. And they usually range from like $79 when they're on sale to $99 for the pair. Then from Lamps Plus, and I'm sure other places too, you can get that channeling. So you get, if you don't want to see the cord, especially, especially if it's a, one of those plastic coated regular kind of cords. If it's a cloth cord, that's kind of cool, but you're going to end up paying a lot more money for a sconce like that. You can just get the metal channeling that matches the finish of the sconce, and then you just attach that to the wall with some little screws, and you could just take it to the point where you're not going to see the wire anymore, particularly if it's going behind a bed or behind a sofa or something like that. So that is an excellent way to get some terrific lighting, and we're all about good lighting.
I think you just talked me into getting some of those. I'm going to go look at them.
Oh, yeah, you should. They're great. They're really great.
Yeah. So, okay. So something else that you can do, change out the shades in your windows. Either if they're looking old, if you've got mini blinds, if you've got some other kind of window treatments that you're tired of.
Or just take them off if you don't really need them.
Right. I mean, I assume if you have them on the window, you do need them. I mean, in bedrooms, you do for sure. But
Right, right. Now, if there's a fireplace, consider the possibility of updating it. You could paint the brick. You could take the mantle off. You could paint the mantle. You could add corbels. There are just so many things you could do. It's so easy to upgrade a fireplace and a mantle. And even if you like it, don't leave it empty. Either you're going to have the logs in there and it's going to look like something's going on, or if you don't use it or you don't use it during certain months of the year and you don't have it where it's gas and you have those logs that are in there all the time, put a fern in it. Or if you do have a situation where the logs are in there because it's a gas fireplace and you can't get them out, get a nice screen and put it in front of it. You don't want to have a black hole in your house. And sometimes in a house where there wasn't a lot of character to start out with, the fireplace and the mantle is really basic, but it doesn't have to stay that way. It is not hard to change it at all. And we are big advocates of painting the brick. I know it's controversial, but we are really pro painting the brick.
oh, yes, we definitely are. Another thing is changing out the lighting in the room. So many times, people just think, well, I'm just stuck with it because I have to get an electrician, but it really may not be as much money as you think it is. And if you hate the lighting, I think it's going to be worth it for you. This is going to make a difference. And then, a lot of us have these ceiling fans that came with our house that have the really, that's the standard tulip lights. I mean, that just screams, 1985 or, I don't know, 1998. So there are so many.
They're still out there, though.
They are out there.
Yeah.
I saw them at my mom's house. So they're there. There's so many good-looking ceiling fans now, and where in the past there was really just the one style, now there are some really good-looking ceiling fans. There's so many different options. There's so many different light kits. It really, if you have those, it's time. Just check it out. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the options that are available.
Oh, so true. I mean, let's just all do this together. Picture walking into a very basic square-shaped room. It's painted white. There's nothing really in there except Anita's mother's ceiling fan. Right? Now picture walking into that same room, but there's a really cool, new-looking ceiling fan. It could be very ultra-modern, or it could be something really simple, but it doesn't have those glass tulipy things like she's talking about. It's just looking like it's of the time. Yes. What a difference. Just that one thing.
You might be thinking that you can't afford to replace the ceiling fan, or it's working just fine and you hate to replace it. One option is just to change out the light kit. So just keep the fan and just change out the lights, because there's so many options for the lights that look so much better than those tulip lights.
Right. And if you have those paddles that are the faux brown plastic wood-ish thing, take them off and spray paint them. Make them white. Make them a different dark navy, something like that.
I like the white ones, because most ceiling fans are just not attractive, and I like that the white just kind of disappears with the ceiling. So I think that's because it's just a lot of them just are not attractive.
Right. And just riffing off this whole ceiling fan idea, it's, just because there's a ceiling fan there doesn't mean you have to put a ceiling fan back. You can put a different kind of light fixture there as well. And that goes for everything. Just because it's there, and even if you put it there, but certainly if you're buying a house and someone used this room this way, or there was a ceiling fan in this room, that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. So this is all about making a very simple home have character, but every single space that you live in, we want you to make it your own. So, just keep that in mind as well, which I hope you all do. Texture. Texture is your friend in any home, but really is going to be your friend in a very simple home that doesn't have a lot of built-in character. So you can add a lot of interesting texture. And today isn't all about decor items per se, but you can add texture in the type of flooring that you choose. You could even add some grass cloth wall coverings. There are so many ways to work in different textures into the home, and that will add a tremendous amount of character.
Well, back to the ceilings, we talked about paneling the ceiling with wood, but the faux wood beams, they have come a long way. I actually did go to the salvage yard and selected some barn wood to put on my, some old beams to put in my kitchen. But, the thing is, you don't have to do that anymore. There's some really nice faux wood beams, so they're going to be cheaper. They're going to be easier to find. They're going to be a lot more lightweight, so they're easier for you to install or for someone else to install. So I think that's really something to look at, and you definitely can add that after the fact because they're just going to be decorative. You're not going to be adding them at this point to be load bearing.
Right. You're not holding up the house with those. Okay. So what's our defines for today, Anita?
Well, I thought I'd harken back to what I mentioned earlier, which was board and batten. And I thought I would explain what that is. So that's a type of exterior siding or interior paneling that has alternating wide boards and narrow wooden strips called battens. The boards are usually 1 foot wide and they're placed horizontally or vertically, so it can go either way. And the battens are usually about 1/2 inch wide. And I'm sure you've seen them on exteriors as well. It's a very common look where I am on a lot of the craftsman style houses.
I love that look. So the battens are recessed, right?
Yes.
Right. So I love that look. That's great. And I'm sure that you can get kits for that, or you can make it, or my gosh, you could probably make it yourself, or someone that's handy that has some of that equipment that you need to do things like that could make it out of plywood, just a really nice quality plywood, and then paint it. It's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Idea.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a beautiful look. And you know what? I'm going to link to Rhoda of Southern Hospitality. She did that in her house, and it is just beautiful.
My crush is really in keeping with what we talked about today. And when I was getting ready for this episode, I thought, I'm going to look back in my emails and see where I ordered that giant ceiling medallion from. So we converted our garage into a gym during COVID, which is such a great thing that we did.
Are you using it?
All the time. In fact, I used it right
Impressive.
Today. Yes. We had an issue where there was kind of this big opening that needed to be covered. I planked the ceiling. Well, I didn't personally do it, but I had someone plank the ceiling. But still, there was a big opening. So I needed a very big ceiling medallion to sort of cover all of this sort of jagged hole. And so one that you could buy off the shelf wasn't going to cut it. And I didn't want it to be too frou-frou because it's a gym and it's, it's outside. So I just looked online, and lo and behold, this place came up, architecturaldepot.com. They had a ceiling medallion that was just perfect for me. It's interesting shape, kind of trimmed out, but not one of those you would picture, in a French chateau or something like that. Not like the ones that I have inside the house. Very simple, but it was 36 inches by 21. So a really nice size, and it was perfect. It was going to cover any of the things that we wanted to hide. But that company not only does ceiling medallions, they have molding, shutters, columns, faux wood beams, corbels, brackets, PVC millwork, things to cover your ventilation, doors, windows, weather vanes, cupolas, and things for your yard and garden. It is a really great site.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds wonderful.
So we'll link it in the show notes. It's architecturaldepot.com, but we'll have the link if you want to click through at the show notes.
Well, my crush is a new flat iron I got for my hair because mine was acting up and it kept shutting off. And anyway, I'm very excited because this one is just so much nicer. It's oversized and it's just doing a great job. It's not shutting off like the old one, doesn't snag my hair, and it's titanium. It's not ceramic, so that's supposed to be better. And it just, I don't know, it's doing a great job. And I think it's kind of nice looking because it's rose gold. So I was
pretty.
so why not get something a little prettier if you can?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll include the link to that. And it was very reasonably priced too.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.